Welcome everybody to recent developments in Primo VE. This session is going to be presented by Jenny Drager, the Training Services Team Lead. This is our final session in this year's Ex Libris Knowledge Days webinar series. Let's go take a look at that Knowledge Days webinar series just so we can see where we are. We've completed all of these sessions. All of the recordings are on this page. I'm going to send out the link to this page to everybody just in case for whatever reason you don't have it. All of the recordings from previous sessions you will find in the final column here called Recordings. These are also on the Education and Webinars page. Let's go take a look at that Education and Webinars page as well. I'm going to send out the link to that as well to everybody so you'll have it. And from here, in the On Demand tab, you have a link to all of the previous sessions. Here's yesterday's session, for example. All of the Knowledge Day sessions are here. And these are links to the recordings. The recordings are also on the Ex Libris YouTube channel, so they can be accessed from here, from the Knowledge and Education Webinars page, from the Knowledge Days page, and from the YouTube channel. 3 different places, all going to the same recording. So we started out with the new improved ALMA overlap analysis tool. That was our first session. Then we had a session on resource sharing item availability. That was with Moshe Schechter from Product Management. Then we had 3 sessions on fiscal period closure. Those were given by myself, Yoel Kortik, as well as by Jenny Drager, who will be presenting today. Then we had a session on what are cloud apps and how to use them. Yesterday we had Jesse Ransom with Learning Affordability and Leganto. And without further ado, let's turn it over to Jenny for recent developments in Primo VE. Jenny, you are now the presenter. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Let me share, and I want to make sure I'm sharing this. There we go. That screen. Share. Okay. And
all right, we see you and we hear you.
Great. Let me make sure. There we go. So thanks for the introduction, Yoel. So today we're going to be talking about some, not everything that's been happening with Primo VE. We went roughly about 6 months back and we just pulled up some of the highlights. So I have 7 topics here, and when I looked at that, I'm like, oh, that's a whole lot. But actually, I've grouped 2 sets of them because they're complementary. And so we'll be breaking them down and going through these, and I'll be showing you them. I've got some examples in the PowerPoint, but I'm also going to be showing you them live in my ALMA and Primo VE environment here. So let's start with collection discovery. And so this is a new search option that you have if you are using collections in Primo VE. And remember, collections don't have to be only digital. They can be any format. They could be a mix of digital, electronic and print, or just electronic and print, just another way to expose what you have in your collections to your community. And so we had searches within the collections, but not this overarching search at the highest level. And so this was introduced back in November of 2021, but we really wanted to highlight it because it's a pretty cool tool. And there's also, if you're down further in your collection hierarchy and you execute a search and it doesn't give you any results, what it'll suggest is, hey, why don't you try going up to that collections lobby to see if you can find what you're looking for there. So let's go take a look at it. So I'm here in my environment and I'm going to go to collection discovery. And let's say, like if I come here and do Bronte, so I'm at the collection lobby and I can see, yes, here's Wuthering Heights. It's in one of my collections and I can come into this record and access it. So that's that search at the collection level, at the collection lobby. And then like if I come in here into art history books, here's this book on, pyrotechnics, maybe I'm looking at that and I do my Bronte search here and I get no hits because I'm within that collection and it's looking at that level down. And here's that prompt to say, hey, why don't you go look in all collections? And that'll bring back up. So a nice tool that we've added, very helpful. Now there are some configurations to be aware of. You can change some of the labels. We've seen some words, some labels, and like this items in all collections is one. Didn't find what you were looking for when I did that. So if I try searching in all collections, no items found, those words can all be, those labels can all be edited. And where you do that is in the Alma menu, under Discovery, under Labels. And remember, so it's in the section called Collection Discovery Labels, but sometimes it's hard to remember that. And so if I come in here and say, remember how we could search? We can search and I can go to the description and I can even say, find what, oops, it might not like that typo. So even if you do a partial of what the word is, a partial search there in Discovery, it's going to tell you where to go. So I rely on this a lot. And I come in here into Customize. Now there's going to be a number of labels here. But most of these are at the bottom because they're newish. So here's that try searching in all collections. If you wanted to change that wording, here's the didn't find what you were looking for. Items in collections. So these can all be customized. And then no items found, that was a little higher up. Remember, you can always adjust these as needed. So that's where those are. And another benefit to this, let me get back in here. My mouse, there we go. Okay. So this is just showing you exactly what those labels are titled, but remember we could also search by what that word is, so you don't have to know this label link name, if you will. But another benefit is that you're going to be able to find out some information in analytics about how people are using this. So this will kind of give you into peek. Are people searching your collections lobby? Are they using that prompt to search up at the lobby level? Or are they searching within your collections? So those are all tools that are built in for you. And remember, this functionality is enabled by default, so there's nothing that you need to do to turn this on in your environment. Okay. Our second topic is option to hide offensive subject terms. And so this is going along with supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs, or I guess programs isn't the word, but movements or whatever.
Initiatives, perhaps.
Initiatives. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. And so what this does is this allows you to control or make a list of offensive words and phrases that should be hidden in subject fields that would appear in your full displays, your brief displays, and facets. So when you configure this, just remember the excluded words or phrases, they're not case sensitive, and they must match the contents of the subject field exactly. And so we don't have an offensive term here in our example, but this is a great example. And I had this enabled in my environment and I disabled it so that I can show it to you. So how do you go configure this? And it does need to be configured. So you go under, again, the configuration, discovery, other, and then you're going to see a heading called DEI list of terms to exclude from subject heading. And then you can, under content here, that's where you can add your terms or phrases. So, and then here's a hot link to the documentation if you want more examples, a little deeper in-depth kind of a thing. So let's go take a look at this in Alma. Oh, and then this is a screenshot of what are we going to see? So if I go do a search in, let me just go show you that. Okay. Back here, and I say nutrition. And I'm going to just do a library catalog search. So here's nutrition, and we've relabeled the subject headings called top. This says topic here, but these are our subject headings. So here's nutrition. You see nutrition periodicals, other nutritional, nutrition periodics in French, etc. So you see these other subject headings. Come in here to Alma, and under config, discovery, other, and then here's our DEI list of terms to exclude. So no need to capitalize. Of course, I have to save my work. Now, remember, when we're doing this kind of work, sometimes this information can be cached. So you might have to clear your cache. Sometimes I go to a different browser, and I'm going to actually close that and reopen it. And sometimes this takes a minute to work. So MUT nutrition, and again, we'll do it in library catalog. So you see how nutrition is now gone. Now nutrition periodicals is still here, nutritional is still here, but that one subject heading is gone. So again, if you're working on this and you don't see that change, clear your cache in your browser, close the entire browser, reopen it again. Those things help the browser to take a fresh look at the settings in Alma and give you that display. So let's go back here. And then I did put that example right in the PowerPoint, just showing how nutrition is gone. So our next topic here is we're talking about two different new features or pieces of functionality. Get it, the custom order of locations, and then you can even group locations by library and get it. So we're talking about the get it for physical resources. Now, out of the box, by default, if I come in here, I have atomic habits. And so what I did was I added a lot of holdings. So the same title. If I come in here to look, what do I see? I see my libraries, and these are alphabetical right now. So, and maybe, I don't want the law library first. I want my main library first, and then we'll build the rest. I can adjust this for maybe my biggest libraries where most users go. Come back into Alma. And so this feature, the ordering, custom order of locations, this was introduced in December of 2021. And I'm going to show you a couple screenshots, and then we're going to go into Alma. And so this functionality is disabled by default, so you have to go in and enable this. And we're going to go into the locations ordering profile, which you can get under configuration, fulfillment, discovery interface, display logic, and then locations and ordering profile. So what you're going to see is this use custom sorting, And you have to change this to yes, and then that'll take away these other options. And we're going to see that. And then we have a second configuration to do here. We're going to configure the custom sorting for at least one library in your view in the full record services tab in view configuration. So if you've done work on Primo VE, you've been in here, and if the other setting isn't done, if this previous screenshot is not set to yes, then you will not see the little ellipsis here at the get it link one line. So that is important to note. So let's go do this in Alma. Back in here. So first we're on the configuration menu, fulfillment. Here's my discovery and interface display logic section, and then locations ordering profile. So if I change this to yes, you see how those other options went away. And I did set these, and they're sticky. So I disabled this. But even though I had a previously set up, so when I came back in here, this was done. So that didn't go away just because I disabled it. And then to add these, you just choose which library and give it a ranking. And then you don't have to identify all your libraries. You could just put like your primary one and let the others sort out if you wish. There you have options. You don't have to be this specific about your order. Okay, I come back in here. So that is set to yes. And my second configuration I need to do to make this work, I have to apply it to one of my environments. So again, in discovery, display config, configure
One
views.
of your views.
And I'm getting in to this one, my default. And then, so the full record services tab is where we're going. And you see how this isn't here yet. So I had this happen when I was testing this. And what I did was, we don't often have to close down Alma, but I did do that when I was testing this. So let's see if that helps that little, and it, remember Alma's kind of cachy. And so I've been clearing my cache regularly while preparing for this. Oh, let's get back in here, configure views, edit, full record services, still not here. Let me clear my cache really quickly.
Jenny, maybe while we're waiting for that, some questions came in about the DEI terms.
Oh, okay.
Or would you prefer to wait?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so one comment is an exclusion or hiding is nice, but are there any plans to allow libraries to change what term displays instead of an offensive one? For example, keep indexing and displaying items with illegal alien headings, but change the displayed subject to illegal immigration.
Well, okay, I am not a hardcore cataloger. So I guess these would be probably more subject headings in things coming from CDI instead of, because you have control over your own authorities.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That can be handled also with the authorities.
So, you can do that until you can make those changes to your authority records until the changes are made at LC.
Yep.
And I know that people there are working on this kind of stuff, but it's a big organization, right? Do you have any other?
No, there was two questions, but they kind of are the same.
Okay. So let's give this discovery, configure. I like show, I was kind of, see, it's still not showing. Well, darn it. Now that worked for me yesterday. It did take a little bit of time, but it did work once I opened that up.
while this is refreshing, someone is asking if we can have different orders for different views.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, because you are, oh, you mean, oh, this, yes,
Yeah.
because I'm getting into the view to make this adjustment because this second configuration is at that view level. So absolutely. Absolutely.
Where would you
And
define the second library's order that you would apply to a different view?
so let me get back in here. So you see how this, when we're configuring the custom sorting for at least one library, when you go into configuration, discovery, display config, configure views, you're choosing which view you want here, and then their full record services tab. So what might be the primary library for one view may not be the primary one for another. If you have a law school, a medical school, you want their stuff first, and then maybe the library, and then you let the other ones sort themselves out.
Okay. Somebody else is commenting, Jenny, just to help you out, that he or she thinks you didn't click save when you set it to customize. Perhaps that's an issue.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, it's
Thank
always that extra
you.
set of eyes that helps.
Yep. And I know I've done that before. I know it. Okay, let's go back in. Let me double check. Fig, fulfillment, discovery interface display logic. And I want locations ordering. Oh, thank you, thank you. So we're gonna hit yes, save. Just for good measure, I'm closing my browser tab and reopening. And let's see, discovery, configure views. So yeah, if you have multiple views, this is where you can go in and customize that per view. And here's my full record services. Here it is. Thank you, thank you.
All
So
right. Thank you,
configure.
person who pointed that out.
So here's where I can select my custom libraries and
Uh-huh.
let's
So for each
say,
view, you can do it differently. I get it.
so maybe I
Yep.
could even take these off and really, I'm just want the main and
Mm-hmm.
graduate at the top and the rest at this view. And another view, I might reorder them a little differently. So when I save that, now if I go back into, and this, I'm definitely going to close my browser and try it again. Now we saw the first time they were alphabetical. Law showed above main, if you will. So
Yep.
now if I come back here, and I want to do just library catalog, and let's see if this hit yet. So now main is at the top,
Beautiful.
and then law, and then science. Now to see the details, you click in and you say what's available at main, what's available at law, what's available at science. Now this goes right into the next topic, the next Primo V change. So here's, we did our sorting. This is where we edited it at a specific view. And this is just showing how that works. If you've been working with Alma, you understand you add location, you select your parameters, not a different style of form. So let's say you've done this, you've put your, you've adjusted the order of your libraries and you're really happy. Well, now we have another enhancement, and this came along in April of 2022. So if your institution has many libraries that hold the same item at different locations, I can now group these locations by library and get it. So this is group. So now we've reordered. Now we have, again, this functionality is disabled by default. So to make the change, you'd have to go in and make your configuration changes. And what we're going to first do is go into the customer settings and change the get it group by library to true. And then we're gonna go into a code table and change the wording here from locations to libraries. And then what I did was I showed you kind of the two options. So grouped by locations, and then here's grouping by library. So that's what we saw, how you just see the libraries where the material's held, and you have to click on them to get in and see what's held at those specific libraries. If you want to group by locations, you see how the main appears first. So it's still in that order, but instead of, this is going to save save a click, but it also depends on what you want that user experience to be. You know, do you prefer this view where you have to go in to see the details? You know, how many potential libraries could you see in your Primo VE versus, you know, do you just want this all laid out where you see the shelf, the availability statement, you see where it is, and I can just go right there and get it. There's not a wrong answer. It's just what you prefer to see and to show in your environment. So let's go take a look at how we do this. Back here into Alma. And I got a couple changes to make. So the first thing I need to do is in configuration, under discovery, under other, this is where we see the customer settings. And remember, this is where it can be kind of a long list. This one isn't too bad. And I can see get it group by library. Right now, oh, it's set to true. And then, and you could see where I customized it and I could restore it back to false. So if I do, so that's the default. So if I do customize this and set it to true and save it, and then under discovery, label, display config labels, what we're going to do is, this is another one of those long ones. So header, libraries, and it's in the get it tab 1 labels. And if I come down here, here's where it says locations, and I want to change it to libraries. Save. And so I guess that, well, I already had that at libraries. And so, but this allows that functionality. So, because I guess I didn't disable that. I meant to disable that. So there we see those options. And then if you haven't, like I said, if you have not, there we go. So out of the box, if it's set by default, that label that we just changed, locations, and then this is enabling that grouping, setting that to true, puts them here together, and you click out to see the details. Again, not a wrong answer. Test it out, see how you like it. You can always go back. Any comments or questions on that one, Joel?
Yeah, I'm gonna read them out. So someone says we don't use it, but what's the difference between grouping libraries and creating a campus? Does grouping only impact the display? That's really a large question. The whole idea of campuses.
Campuses are kind of a whole different beast.
Yeah.
This is all about just the display in Primo VE, period. This This isn't bringing in that campus functionality. It's, enable this on one, like put this on your sandbox and see how you like it, or just do it in your Primo V and see if you get feedback from your users. Which do you like better? That default where it's broken down by location? Or do you like this grouping? And also remember, this is only going to affect results. And how many duplicate physical materials do you have in your libraries today? So I don't know how big of an impact it would be. It's really a preference.
Uh-huh.
Nothing stronger than that.
Okay, there's another one. It says if you only have one library but multiple locations, can you do the same thing at the location level?
Order them?
I assume that's what it's the underlying question is.
Okay.
What are the locations within the library?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
No, I'm not aware of a method either.
Yeah, I'm not positive. Um, and here's my suggestion for you. I'm all about the idea exchange. Check the
Hmm.
idea exchange, and if it's not there, put it there. I'm no programmer, so I don't know how difficult that would be, but that's, um, you know, our development teams, our product managers, they look at that, that helps us determine what our customers want. And a lot of changes have happened throughout Alma and Primo V and all of our products based on the idea exchange. Okay, so our next topic is supporting the indexing of enhanced holdings information. So I got to play a little bit with this one. So we know we're already searching the metadata in bib records. That's what we're designed to do. But now Primo V allows or supports indexing of holding information so that users can search for information that's included in a holdings record. Again, this has to be configured. It's not out of the, you'd have to, number one, put the data in a holdings record and set this up. But also, after this feature is configured and your records have been re-indexed, users can perform basic and advanced searches to find records based on holdings information. And our documentation said it takes about 15 minutes to do this, so I did not disable this. I left it turned on so that I can show it to you. So again, the functionality is not enabled by default. You'd have to come in here and do this. So the first thing we need to do is go into our customer parameters mapping table and set the uResolver enable get it holding config, set that to true. And then configure your holding search. So let's go and specify the fields and subfields to be indexed. So let's go take a look at those settings. I don't remember anything particularly tricky about this one when I was configuring it. So again, we're in config, fulfillment, under general, other settings. And then this was a pretty long list. uResolver, enable get it here. It's this one. You can see I'm the one that changed it to true. So that enables the holding search configuration mapping table. And then now we go in to add things to the mapping table. So that is under configuration, discovery, get it config, holding search config. So if the other setting, if this parameter is not set to true, you won't see this option here. But once that's set to true, you do. And then I just used what our examples had in the documentation. I added a 800 subfield A, or if you put something in a holdings record in a 222, you can also index more than one subfield. So that's where that is. And then back here, let me see if I have my records in here. I don't remember if I cleared out my MD editor. No, not that one. So then oops, then I went into some of my records, my favorite topic, edit. And then you can see what I did was in my 800 tag, I just added knowledge days. So that's the term I put in a few different records, in holdings records. If I come back out here to discovery and I do an advanced search, and oh, hold on. When I set this up, there is one more search to do. Oh, yeah, there is one more config to do. Let me show you that before I do my search. Under configuration, discovery, display config, again, configure views and go into the view or views you want to, for which you want to edit this. This was the tricky part. So you go into advanced search config and you add an index. So I added this index. Let me show you what I added. And up here, I chose holdings information. So up here, if I add a new index, I chose holdings information up here, and then I disabled some of them. I only left it on for everything and library catalog. So I'm going to hit cancel because I already have this here in place. So this is enabled in the view. So again, you don't have to turn this on for every view if you don't want. And so on my advanced search, here's my holdings information, and I put in knowledge days. You don't have to capitalize. And here I put that 800 tag in 3 different books, or 3 different holdings records, and here they are.
Jenny, someone says, can you repeat the steps for configuring the advanced holdings info or show the slide with the steps again?
I sure
By the way,
can.
let me just point out to this person and others, the whole presentation is on the Knowledge Days page, which I sent the link out to, so you'll be able to see the presentation in any case. But go ahead, Jenny.
So the first step we had to do was enable the parameter to set to true. And if you don't do this, then you're not going to see holding search configuration on this menu. So step 1, go into configuration, fulfillment, general, other settings, and this is the parameter, and change that to true, save your change. And then under configuration, discovery, get it config, you'll see an option holding search configuration. And that, when I went into there, I added a new index. I chose holdings information and I disabled, I only left it enabled for everything in library catalog. And then this is that caveat about it's not going to happen right away. So if you do this and you want to test this out, give yourself a little break, come back and search in Primo VE to see the index and see the results. And then go ahead and you'll see that holdings information index in the advanced search, and I'll see it under everything in library catalog. And just go ahead and search as usual. I hope that's helpful. Okay, our last 2 features, again, they kind of go hand in hand here. And so allowing searching of remote institutions, and then restricting search groups for other indexes. So this has to do with, oops, hold on, back. In December 2021, we added a feature that allows users to see availability information at a remote institution and delivery options if they're signed in and have permissions at that remote institution. And that first functionality that almost had to be on the same instance, but it was expanded in January 2022 to institutions that are on different instances. So this is my caveat here. If you look at the release notes for December 2021, it is going to say must be on the same instance because that was changed in a future release. So remember that about looking at release notes and then looking, a lot of times our release notes have the links to the full-on documentation. And so usually everything you want is in the release notes, but if there's a future change, just remember, we don't always, we're not going to go back and, because those were the release notes at the time. So linking to that full documentation is a good idea when you're setting something up, troubleshooting, testing it out. So remote availability information is displayed in the Get It from Other Institutions section of the full records display page. So what was changed in allowing, so that first piece of functionality, you define a Primo VE deep search scope. So again, you do this under configuration discovery, search config, search profiles, other indexes tab, add other index, deep search. So this page has been here, but what we added was a display institution name so that you can say, oh, this is so-and-so university or so, college of whatever, so that it's easy to identify who this partner is, if you will. And so you can limit searches of deep search. Well, this is setting it up, and the only functionality that changed was this, or the only field that changed on this form was that display institution name. Now, the second part of this functionality was introduced in April 2022. You can limit the searches of deep search and search webhook scopes to users based on these types of restrictions, whether they're coming from a certain IP address, whether they're on campus, whether restricted, whether it's a user group. And then if I'm logged in, Primo has to know who I am and I'm trying to search something and I don't meet those restrictions. Maybe I'm a community borrower, guest user, and you don't provide this service for them for what, or alumni, maybe, there's certain service levels you do for certain parts of your community. Here's the
Jenny,
message.
can I interrupt on a question just because I want to make sure I ask you while it's still relevant in your presentation? Somebody asked, how many deep search partners can we add? Last I heard, we could only add one, but I could either have old information or be misinformed.
No, I don't know. I can look that up and post something to the Knowledge Days page.
Okay.
Because I don't know that limit off the top of my head. And what I'll do is I'll post, you keep that question for me and just send it to me when we're
Yes,
done.
yes, I've
And
got it.
I'll post a document below
Excellent.
the
And I'm
below the
taking the
PowerPoint.
person's name as well so we can make sure we get back to the person,
Perfect.
in addition to putting it on the page.
Perfect. And so then, you can, this doesn't have to be open to all. And then here's that message. You must be signed in or on campus to search for this resource, or however you want to change that wording. So again, setting this up, not enabled by default. So when you go in to provide, you go in and define your Primo VE webhook or Primo VE deep search scope page, which you go into config, discovery, search configuration, search profiles, other indexes. You'll see this link here, define allowed users. So let's go take a look at that. Out of here, come back in here and get into the configuration menu, discovery. search config, search profiles, and then our other indexes tab. So I just set it up on the AFN for automated fulfillment network. So here's that define allowed users. Here's that name. And what I did when you add a parameter, do you want it? I already used up the user group parameter, but you could, someone has to be on campus to do this within an IP range or registered user. So I just did it by user group. And if you don't fall under one of these, you're not going to see that option. And in my PowerPoint, again, I just, there we go. Just like many of our other forms where you define the users, add parameters, save your configs. Then you can change that label. So under configuration, discovery, display config, labels, error message labels. So I could go change that. Discovery, display configuration, labels. And then this is where, if you don't know, again, that was not supposed to be a dash, it was supposed to be a period. That brings up the table error message labels. This was, let's see, this is where I use this a lot. There we go. So maybe I want to change that. You must be. Oh, I could change my message. And that's what our borrowers will see then. Okay, so that is what you can change with those labels. I have a few resources I want to share with you. One is the release notes. Remember, our release schedule has changed, but keep an eye on these. I personally set calendar reminders on my Outlook calendar to go read them. Alma has changed to a quarterly release. And so I now have, I've adjusted those because there's a lot of information, because you notice most of the functionality that we talk about isn't enabled by default. And that's the goal. The goal is, as a new release gets changed, it shouldn't be completely interrupting your workflows and displays so that you have time to adjust and test them out. But keep an eye on those release notes. Check out the documentation, link to documentation. Remember, all of our documentation is indexed in Google. That's how I search. I don't often search in the Customer Knowledge Center. I just type in Primo VE display labels or Alma, whatever I'm looking for. You'll see our results there. And then one of my favorite shortcuts throughout all of our products is clicking on if I'm ever anywhere on any page, you're filling out a form and you say, what is that field? Why? What is that for? Go to the little question mark for help and choose help this page. And that will bring up the page associated with the page that you're on in Alma. You'll mention this at the top of the session, our education and knowledge webinars. He already sent this link out to you. So we are two of the people throughout the company that do these, they're free content, free webinars. We're talking about new features. Sometimes it's new products because a lot of different people use or do these webinars, but keep an eye on that list. And then something new that we're doing based on some customer feedback, right in Alma, you'll see this little announcements. Looks like a little megaphone there. And we did it for Knowledge Days. You'll put up a nice post there to remind people about Knowledge Days. And so keep an eye on those announcements because, for instance, one of our colleagues is writing a new electronic resources management series that will start in July. And
Maybe you could show it in your environment, Jenny, even.
you know what, Yoel, when I went in, there wasn't anything in there today. Did it expire? Because today was the last day.
Yes, it expired today, right?
Okay.
Because today's the last day. But yeah, you can show the announcements in any case. Oh, no active announcement. Oh, could be due to your roles. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry
And
about that.
that was the last thing I was going to say. So what shows up here is tied to your roles. So we're going to ask Yoel to put in an announcement about this electronic resources management series that Kevin Lane Cummings will be doing. And what shows here is tied to your roles. So people that work with electronic resources will see that announcement, be made aware of the series, hopefully attend it if they feel they need some additional training. So anything else for us?
Someone asks, are presentation slides posted? Once again, they're on the Knowledge Days page. I'm going to send out that link once again. I sent it at the beginning of the session. Sent it right now as well. On this page, yeah, go ahead. I sent out the link to this. If you go all the way down, your session's there with the link.
Right here. And then we're going to look up that question and I'll add another document
Yep.
here.
Okay, Jenny, thanks a lot. That was very interesting.
Thank you,
We'll also
Yoel.
be posting the recording here on this page.
It'll be over here.
Okay, any final questions or comments from anyone before we close? The end of the last session of the Knowledge Days 2022.
Thank you for attending and thanks for your help, Yoel.
Okay, have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.